In the last 16 years, I have built 7 different businesses that have generated over $1 million in profit. And in that time, I've figured out there is absolutely a revolving door, a way to repeat this process so that you can do it over and over again. And the most exciting part about all of this is now, with something called vibe coding, you can actually build these businesses faster, and honestly, I've been able to do it inside of a weekend where it would normally cost me tens of thousands of dollars in 3 to 6 months. So in this video, I actually want to break down exactly what I would do right now and what I'm doing right now to build my next $1 million business, all through vibe coding, where I can actually build tools, build software, build solutions for people that are willing to pay me, and how to actually get this from an idea to building this idea all the way to selling this idea. And we're gonna break down the entire process right now in this video, so let's do it. All right, so the first thing that we need to understand about this entire environment is that in order to make money in anything that you do, there's a really simple equation that I use, and that is anything that I can do that can create value, I know I can get money for. So that's all making money has ever been. It's I'm gonna create value on this side, and people will give me money in exchange for that value. And so the easiest way to figure this out is what creates value. So I wanted to dumb this down so I wouldn't make any mistakes when I try to build businesses in the future. And the easiest way for me to do this is in 2 ways. The easiest way for you to create value right now in the market, regardless of how many followers you have, what your experience is to do one of these 2 things or both. Now, object number 1 is to decrease the amount of time it takes somebody to get a result. If you can help somebody do something in less time than it would normally take, you have value. I want you to think about this all across the board, even looking at something like DoorDash. It helps me reduce time, it helps me reduce effort. And reducing effort is the second thing that you can do to actually create value. Now, if we keep this really simple, all I have to do is build something that will help somebody save time or build something that will help somebody save effort. If I can do one of those 2 things, then I have value. And I can sell this and I can start making money. So one of the beautiful things that has existed for the last decade of my business is building software and tools. Typically, to build a software or a tool, it's incredibly in-depth and elaborate, and it costs me $20,000 to $800,000 I've spent in my career building softwares and tools, whether it's through freelancers or hiring developers. And honestly, that process has been a nightmare, and it cost me a lot of money. And the reason I actually sold my company in 2023, I had a company called Chatmatic, and I exited that company because for the 6 months prior to exiting, I had so much stress. The overhead on that was ridiculous. I was paying 2 developers a total of about $15,000 a month, and I didn't have funding. I was bootstrapped, so I was literally giving them money out of my pocket to build this tool. And if I didn't make money on selling that tool, I was gonna go broke very quickly. So the stress of that weighed on me like you would not believe. I literally, at that moment, this was August of 2023, I sold that company. I said, I'm never getting back into software because the overhead will literally drive you mad. And it's no wonder that entrepreneurship has, high rates of depression and whatnot, because you're going through all of this stuff alone. And the weight of all of this is sometimes unbearable. But here's the beauty. Here's the light at the end of the tunnel. Is recently in the last 3 to 6 months, AI has gotten to a point where it can do, I would say 90% of the building for us. Now, I know a lot of developers are out there, they're watching this video and they're saying, no, vibe coding sucks, it's not safe, it's not secure. Bah humbug. I think what that is that's the dying tiger. A dying tiger always gets more aggressive right before it's about to be put out. That's exactly what we're seeing from developers. It's exactly what we're seeing from everybody in the space who used to be, well, you have to pay me if you want a software. Now we don't have to pay them, so they're pretty upset about it, and they're coming out with, you shouldn't be vibe coding. Vibe coding is that new process that allows non-techies, somebody who can't write code like me, it allows us to actually build tools and build stuff that we can start selling. So we now have a quicker bridge to create value for people. And I want to give you a really simple example. If I was going to teach somebody how to grow a garden in their backyard, I would be creating a digital product, I would make a course, I would put it in a membership area, I would make a sales page, and I would promote to people, I will teach you how to grow a garden. Now, that has value, and you can sell that. And even to this day, we still sell information products every single day. But I want to juxtapose that against a tool. So now, when you would normally create information, now what you can do with vibe coding, and we're going to show you how to do that in this video, you can now say, hey, instead of teaching somebody how to grow a garden in their backyard, can I just create an app, a tool, a software of some kind that shows them what to do? So they don't have to actually go through the learning process. Imagine everything that you've learned in the past. Wouldn't it just be easier, better, if you had a tool that could show you how to do this? Well, that's what we now have the ability to do. And now with AI, it's actually easier than ever. So I think a lot of people are going to be diving into what I call PaaS. So the old way of building a tool would have been called a SaaS. Many of you are familiar with this, software as a service, as an acronym. So you would build software, and that software would provide a service to whoever's using it. My previous companies, we had a company called Chatmatic. That was a software as a service, and what it did was it allowed you to quickly automate Facebook Messenger and Instagram DMs. Many of you guys probably know the big competitor in the space, ManyChat. It was impossible for us to compete with them. That's another reason that we sold, because it was just really, really difficult to be in that space with this 10,000-pound gorilla that had $25 million funding before they even launched. So yeah, got out of that space pretty quickly. But software as a service is something that we can now all do. And I want to dumb it down. I don't want to look at it as software anymore. I want to look at this as you're building and selling a product that other people can use that's going to do stuff for them. And so that's what we're going to be spending the time talking about today, is a very simple application for vibe coding. I'm not here to teach you how to build the most elaborate software, and you're not going to, be building something that replaces Salesforce and has a trillion bells and whistles and integrations up and down. That's for the developers. They still need the advanced stuff there, so we're not going to get into that. We're looking at what can I build and sell quickly that actually has value for other people. So we go back to focusing on how can I help people save time or save effort. All I need is a tool that can do that. And so that's where we actually start this training. This training all comes into the idea phase. Now, personally, I have never been short on ideas. I think if you spend enough time doing and trying things, you look around the market and you go, man, I wish this was easier. And typically, before vibe coding, you would look at that problem and you would say, I don't know how to solve it. I hope somebody solves it soon. That's how a lot of people treat ideas in general. It's like, moms. I wish there was an app that would reduce the mental load of being a mom so that I don't have to manage everybody's schedule, and it was like a personal assistant. We'll come back to that. It's a little foreshadowing. That is a real problem that somebody had in the space. I found a post like this on Reddit, which we're going to show you guys here in a second, that immediately let me know, hey, there's an idea for this. I could save this mom effort by building a tool that helps her organize her schedule and helps her organize her to-do list. This doesn't have to be rocket science. This does not have to be some app that you're trying to exit for $200 million. This can be something that you build and sell to 1,000 people, and they pay you 20 bucks a month, and you make a really good living for a very long time until somebody comes along and goes, hey, I want those 1,000 users, let me buy you out. That can happen, especially now, and it can happen with vibe coding. So there is a step-by-step process that I use for coming up with my ideas. Number one is just discovery. And I've found that there are multiple different places for you to look in your life to discover really good ideas. So let's talk about a few of them. The best, hands down way to discover an idea is to solve your own problem. Most of the big tech companies out there, most of the billion-dollar ideas come from, I have this problem, I'm going to solve it. And famously, Airbnb is an example of that. They were traveling for work. They didn't want to have to overpay to stay in a hotel. So they were like, man, I wish I could just rent somebody's spare bedroom. And then they created Airbnb off of this. DoorDash was created the exact same way. Silicon Valley tech company was doing lunch every day. They were having to go figure out who had what lunch and could they deliver and all of this. It was a madhouse. They were like, what if we just built something for San Francisco where anybody could order from these menus? And they literally started by screenshotting menus from local restaurants, putting them on one website and saying, hey, if you want something from here, text us what you want. We'll go pick it up. You pay a delivery fee. And then it blew up into DoorDash. And now it's a billion-dollar company. So really good ideas almost always start from solving your own problem. And those are going to be the things that you're the most qualified to build. Don't worry about the actual tech side of it. That is now easy. It's almost crazy to say that regardless of your background, you can build these things. The idea is definitely going to be where the majority of this comes from. And so if you're building an idea for somebody else, you're not going to be as qualified to solve that. So the app that I was just mentioning about helping moms alleviate their mental stress, this isn't one that I would be the best suited to build. Yes, I have a wife. I could bounce ideas off of her. But me personally, as I'm building it, I don't know the problem sets. So the most valuable way to come up with a really good idea is to look at the problems that you have. So every single day, I want you to write down 3 things that annoyed you today that you wish there was a solution for. And then you can go in AI and you can ask it, hey, A, is anybody else suffering from this? And B, is there a way to solve this through technology? Is there a way that AI can help me alleviate this? Now, there's other ways that you can come up with really good ideas, like paying attention to curiosities, paying attention to market shifts. So maybe there's a reason now for a new app to exist because of AI that somebody else had previously. I've recently built an app in this space called Deductive, which is an app for small business where it'll help you save money on taxes. Now, there's other apps out there that exist similar to this, but now because of AI, it can automatically go through these transactions and help you figure out how to qualify these as deductions. So it's a really cool app that was A, me solving one of my own problems. I wanted to save money on taxes. But B, paying attention to the market shift of like, AI is here now, what can be done with AI? For me, ideas have never been a problem. Just do stuff, pay attention to the problems that you incur as you go about doing those things, and create solutions for them. Once we have that, it's time to start validating this idea. I'm going to be completely honest, I'm not a huge advocate of putting a lot of weight on idea validation. I don't think you need to validate the idea too much farther than I have this problem, so other people must have this problem as well. If you can start there, you're usually in a really good place. But if you wanted to validate this idea, there are a handful of ways that I really like to do that. I will caveat by saying, you're going to see on my screen here in a minute, a tool that I created that automatically validates ideas. It researches them for you, validates them for you. So yes, this is a shill for the idea that I've already built a tool that does this. So I'm gonna cheat here in a minute, and we're gonna walk through this process, and you're gonna see this little cheat code that's really easy, and you guys can get your hands on it if you look in the link below. But one of the ways to validate is to go on Reddit. Go on Reddit, start searching the problem that you have or that you solve, see if other people have that problem. Go into these threads. Reddit is a gold mine of people who have problems looking for solutions. You can also go into Facebook groups. If you're a mom trying to make an app for moms, go into mom groups. Make a post. Hey, does anybody else wish that you had a personal assistant that could help you remind you of your to-do lists? If nobody says anything, maybe it's not a good idea. If people say something, maybe it is. I think validation is, again, it's just pretty simple. Make a post on your Facebook page. Hey, any moms out there wish that they had an app that lived in their phone all the time that they could brain dump on and they could have it automatically change their schedule? If nobody says yes, maybe it's not a great idea. However, sometimes you don't need anybody else to validate your idea. If I think it's a good idea, I'm going to build it. And a lot comes from doing that. So validating your idea is something that a lot of people are going to want to know how to do. Hopefully that's going to help. But just look for evidence of this idea being something that people are looking for. Once we've actually validated our idea, or we're going to bypass that and we're going to say, okay, I have a problem, I'm going to solve it. What's my solution for doing so? I think everybody kind of gets to that step. And one of my favorite ways to do this is through a platform called Claude Design. Claude Design is a design platform where you can prompt it with an idea and it will design an interface for you that shows you how this thing would work. This is a great way to start the process of like, hey, this could be a software, without having to actually develop or vibe code anything yet. So what I do is I go into Claude Design, and you guys can see here this on my screen. I go into Claude Design, and basically all of my ideas are prefaced in a design platform. So I was working on an application called the Sub 60 app, and to kind of go through the entire methodology here, the idea for this was simple. I was actually talking to the guy sitting right behind the camera here, and he was doing a high rocks, and he said, man, I just don't know how to train for that high rocks. Immediately knew, hey, this is a problem that probably other people are going to have. Nobody knows how to train for a high rocks, and not everybody wants to pay hundreds of dollars a month for an exclusive coach. AI can tell you what to do. We take all the best training methodologies that are available online, we feed them to AI, and then we say, hey, based on this individual's fitness level, let's ask them some questions to figure out what their times are. Let's write programming for them so they can actually get better at racing this race by the time the race happens. So I went into Claude Design and I literally just said, I want to build an app. It's for runners. It's for people who want to do this High Rocks app and High Rocks race. Let's create an app screen dashboard basically that can walk us through how this works. And Claude Design literally took my prompt and it did exactly that. And what you guys are seeing on my screen now is the beginning of this app. And I'm going to show you guys what it looks like now. But we went through and I basically worked with Claude Design, just chatting back and forth, zero code, zero design On my end, nothing, but I did go to a website called Dribble, DRIBBBLE.com, and I looked up like fitness app UI. Downloaded some of those examples, uploaded that to Claude, and I said, hey, I want to build something that looks like this, but here's what I want it to do. Bang. And within 20 minutes, I had all of my app designs already laid out. This is where the fun comes in. You work through the design to create what I call the scaffolding. So you create that like shell of the app. So obviously this doesn't function, it's just designs, but I wanted things like my text, I wanted that to be kind of uniform. I wanted the colors to be uniform. I wanted the blocks to be uniform. And I wanted to see what is this thing gonna look like as somebody goes through. And I just played around with some of the screens. Claude Design is really cool for this. You guys can get access to that for like 20 bucks a month. I'm personally in the $100 a month level because I also use Claude to write code for these apps. But you can see now I've actually got the majority of my screens laid out. And it doesn't have to be all of them. It just has to be enough where like, you know, whatever I build this in, they're not gonna have to guess on too many things. So this is now my scaffolding. And I can download any of these individual images, and I'm going to use them when I actually prompt, which is the next stage, the build phase. When I actually prompt the building platform to make the thing, I want to be able to have these slides handy so that I can give it to them and say, this is the design, let's build the app for this. But now at this point, I'm actually done with the majority of my idea. And again, if I've got designs, I can't urge you guys enough, show these designs to people that might be interested. Hey, if I had an app like this, like, what do you think? How do you think it functions? Ask your spouse. I bounce a lot of ideas off my spouse, even though she doesn't listen to most of them. I do bounce a lot of ideas off of her and at least can kind of see, is there something here? Find somebody else that you can talk to about this. Join a community. Join a monthly mastermind of some kind where you can bounce ideas off people. Hugely underrated because you don't want to be stuck on your own. So now I've got this base kind of core idea that kind of came out of left field with these designs, but I've got a good starting spot. So now we need to get into the actual build. All right, so now we're going to start building, and this is where we start using my cheat code. And again, I accept that this is cheating. I accept that this is a mini promo. So hit me with your comments about, oh, he's just marketing his business. I'm hoping to show you guys some really good stuff, but I am gonna offer you anything that I have that makes this process easier. I created something called the Idea Engine because as I was teaching this to my already existing cohort of members at Paid Creators, I was getting a lot of the same questions. How do I know if my idea is good? How do I know if anybody wants my idea? I want this to be a little bit easier. And so I realized 99% of the people that I talk to, they already have passions, hobbies, interests, and with the ability to build tools, every single person watching this can make money. I'm not even kidding. I want you to think about that sub 60 app that I just showed you. I am not a running specialist. I'm not an expert in running. I think my fastest mile one time was a 5-minute mile, and I haven't been able to get anywhere near that since. I'm not a runner, but I don't have to be anymore because AI has all of the information to help other people become better runners. I don't have to be that. I can just be the middleman. Now, ideas can come from hobbies, can come from passions, can come from interests. And I wanted to create something that allowed you to pursue your own passions, but potentially turn that into a business as well. So in my idea, the very first thing that this idea engine came from was I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos on different things. Let's say my new habit now is I've gone down the rabbit hole of baking. I watch a lot of baking YouTube videos. So I could probably tell you how to make a croissant now. I've never made one, but I've been watching them. And so what I found is I watch those videos. I never end up making the thing in the video or doing the thing that I learned. And in like a month, I've forgotten everything. So at first I wanted to create an ingestion tool. So I could take all those YouTube videos, I could ingest them into this central brain, and now my brain knows what I'm watching. It knows what I'm doing. It knows my hobbies. It knows my interests. I can do this with blogs, I can do this with plain text, and I can do this with YouTube videos. So everything that I'm consuming now has a secondary brain that won't forget anything. And so I created the Idea Engine at first just to be a way for you to chat with your secondary brains. Like, hey, I want to actually go about making croissants. Based on all the information of what I've watched, give me a really good understanding of how to do that. And it'll give you a step-by-step of how to do that. Idea number one was, let's just be able to build a place where I can ingest information so that I can eventually, what you see on my screen, synthesize that idea. The synthesize feature will go through all of the information you fed it and it'll go, hey, here's some ideas of businesses you could create. So again, maybe I'm not qualified to make a croissant business or a bakery of some kind, but could I create an app that helps other people make baked goods? Most likely yes, because I've got all the information already ingested, plus the additional layer of AI, which knows how to make every kind of croissant ever imaginable. So now I've got a really cool app that, could start this process. So what I love about that is it kind of mixes with our discovery tab. The discovery tab is, I don't really know what I want to do. I want to type in some ideas and see what could be relevant to me. So we created discovery, which what you can see right here is it evaluates Reddit. So we have an AI agent that scours Reddit every single day, and it looks for what are people asking for? Because what better thing to create an app for than something that people are already looking for, which is really awesome. I'll take you guys through what I've recently built so we can kind of see this in action. I came into this idea engine recently, and I saw this second post in here which said, I wish there was an app that would take, and we're going to go look at the entire thread. I wish there was an app that would take the mental load off of having to remember everything. I wish it would just call me like a real assistant who has my calendar and my to-do list and remind me of what needs to be done. So I said, say less, let's build it. So I literally took that idea, and inside of our idea engine, I could just hit launch game plan. What the game plan does is then creates multiple different AI agents that now goes and researches this topic, figures out what the solution would be for this topic, and gives you a build plan for what tool you should build. And in the game plans here, you'll actually see, this is my actual game plan. They called it Poise. I changed it to Maven. I thought Maven was kind of a cooler name. This actually just outlines what it is, so you can see the opportunity. Mothers are drowning in an invisible, never-ending list of tasks. If you're a mom, do you agree? School forms, appointments, birthday gifts that existing tools fail to address. You don't need another list to manage. They need an intelligent assistant that proactively manages for them. Ding, ding, ding. AI can do this, and AI can do this pretty quickly. So I thought, what a really cool idea. Inside of our idea engine, there's multiple ways that we can actually use this. It creates a strategic plan, which is a 35-page document that breaks down every avenue of what I should be looking to do on this. It gives me a build plan. It gives me how I would actually go about monetizing this. It talks about the target user. And then it also gives me a build prompt that I can copy. I can literally download this prompt and upload it to our building platform. And here's where things get really fun. Yes, you can build that on your own. You can do your own research. You can go out there and have it look for what should I build? What would my idea be? You can rely on your brain for this, or you can rely on AI. And right now, as I'm filming this video, you guys can actually get access to this idea engine below. So just keep note of that. While I was filming a training, I decided to actually build this app out. Again, I'm not going to release this app. This is not me saying, I built $1 million app helping women. I'm not doing that. Because I'm not going to release this because I'm not a woman. It doesn't solve my problem. I'm probably not the most qualified to build this thing out. But I wanted to see how far can I get on just a random idea. I downloaded the markdown file, and then I went into Lovable. Lovable is, for most of you, the best platform to get started when it comes to building your application because it's an all-in-one solution. If you use Claude Code, Perplexity, there's a lot more in-depth stuff because it's going to be writing things from scratch. You're going to have to create a database. You're going to have to create a sync to that database. A lot more stuff has to go on. Lovable is your sort of like quick all-in-one, I just want to get this MVP out. And remember, you can build the first version of everything in Lovable. It may not be the application that gets you to 100,000 users, but it can definitely be the thing that starts getting you to make money. And it can be the thing that people start using. So I decided I'm going to build this thing out in Lovable. As you can see right here on my screen, I went ahead and I started this prompt by giving it two things. The very first thing that I gave it was the designs that I made in Claude Code or in Claude Design for the personal assistant app. Now, this has a bunch of different designs in it. You can see landing pages. You can see I was building the mobile preview of it. I was building sales pages, screens, you name it. So I have in here everything that I wanted to start with. And right here, you're looking at like a pre-launch page, for instance. So in Claude Design, I went in and I said, here's my build prompt. I want to build this thing for moms. It's a personal assistant. It's mostly AI-based. It's voice-based, all of this. It gave me all the designs. I put the designs and then the master build prompt that the idea engine gave me into Lovable, and this is what it kicked out. What you're looking at right here on my screen is a preview of the app itself, and it's super, super simple. What it does is it connects to your Google Calendar, and it will tap into your schedule and it helps you create to-do lists for yourself, for your life. My angle for this started to get very interesting because as I'm thinking about it, I was like, in Iron Man has Jarvis, and Jarvis is really cool for men. There's no Jarvis for women. Like, why isn't there a Jarvis for women? I think women would also get psyched out about having a Jarvis that's for women, that's not so masculine. So I'm like, all right, let's build a feminine Jarvis. And that's where all of this started, was a voice assistant that you can just open in an app, talk to. It can move your schedule around. It can tell you what's on your to-do list. It tells you a daily briefing. And we're gonna see, let's see what it says here when we start. Hey, can you give me an idea of what's on my schedule for the day?
Good morning, Sarah. It sounds like you're ready to dive into the day. For today, the weather is currently unknown, but I can check that for you if you like. Your main event is at noon, with paid creators filming at 3118 Gulf to Bay Boulevard, Unit 203 in Clearwater, Florida. You also have 4 brain dumps waiting for your review. Is there anything specific you'd like to tackle first?
Can you make a reservation for lunch for me at 1 o'clock somewhere in Tampa?
I can certainly help with that, Sarah. To make sure I find the perfect spot, do you have a particular type of cuisine or restaurant in mind for your lunch?
Can you tell me like 2 really good seafood places in Safety Harbor?
Of course, Sarah. 2 wonderful seafood places in Safety Harbor that come to mind are parts of Paris and the Safety Harbor Seafood Festival, which is a popular event.
You get the gist of what this is doing, which is really cool because the AI already can look at your location, can dive into research on what you're actually looking to do, can move your schedule around. And what's absolutely wild about what you just saw, this thing was functional in less than 30 minutes of work for me. So when I tell you that you can vibe code, that you can build applications, now, I really need to preface this. You can build a working functional tool that other people can start using right now in less than like 2 to 3 hours if you're starting out. And this thing runs right now. The key is what you're looking at on my screen looks like an iPhone app. This is not in the iPhone store. This version is something called a PWA. A PWA, they go to it on their browser, they log in, and it looks just like an app from there. There are ways that you can get them to download it on their phone like a normal app, but I'm not gonna go through the app approval process right now because that is a little bit of a headache. Getting the code from Lovable into a format that gets into the App Store, I'm not gonna do that until I have like 200 users. I wanna prove that people are willing to pay for this the normal way before having to go through more stress. But I'll have this thing up and running and ready for clients in less than like 3 hours of work for myself. It's already functional. It already has a full scheduling tab. I can edit and manipulate everything on my scheduling tab, and I can use voice to move appointments around, to come up with ideas of restaurants that I can go to. And in the future, I can build in features like auto reply to text messages and things like that. So you can kind of build this out as you go. Another important aspect to remember about this is this was just a random idea that I'm not perfectly qualified or suited to build. So when it comes to the design, I don't know what women would want the design to look like. I just chose sort of a more feminine design. But you can build these things very, very quickly, integrate a payment processor on this, build a sales page for it, and start promoting this thing, which is the really important key. And it's so wild to think all I had to do to get the voice to work was I built in one integration. And it's a really important point that I want to make with everybody. When you're building in Lovable, it has its own AI and it has its own database. But the more integrations you build in, the bigger barrier you're putting in between somebody else being able to build it as well. So the voice feature on this, for instance, Lovable doesn't have that built in. You have to apply for an API, which is free, for a company called 11 Labs. 11 Labs did all the voice stuff. I didn't have to create anything. Lovable and 11 Labs kind of built that out together. I literally just integrated it into Lovable. So the more integrations you have, like Google Sync, so it actually syncs with your calendar, the voice application, maybe there's some sort of a reservation booking agent, which is going to be another integration you have to build. The more of that stuff that you build in, the more higher likelihood you have that nobody's going to be able to replace you. But really important part, as we get to our third phase, you don't have to worry about competition. I want to make this super clear. There are people right now building apps that already exist, identical apps. I was just watching a video recently of a guy who built an app that helps you track how much water you're drinking. There are 50 of those apps. There's enough room in the market for all of us to thrive if you focus on this third element of this entire vibe coding $1 million business idea, which we're going to talk about right now. Hear me very clearly. The most important part of any business that you build is, how am I going to get users into the app? Coming up with ideas, anybody can do that. Now, building the idea, sorry, anybody can do that. The real key is, how do I get people into this app? Either A, on a free trial, how am I going to get those people in? How am I going to get what I call founders in? And how am I going to actually launch this thing out to get people to pay me $10 a month, $20 a month, $50 a year, whatever your application pricing is going to be? That all comes down to what I call growth or distribution. You have to have a distribution strategy. That is what's going to separate everybody watching this video from the people who are successful and the people who are not successful. I know hundreds, if not thousands, of entrepreneurs that have great tools that could help a lot of people, but they spend zero time, zero effort, and zero energy on distributing that idea. They're just hoping some miracle happens. I want to break down my 3 favorite distribution strategies that every single person here can use. 2 of them cost you nothing up front. The third one will cost you something up front, but when done the right way, can actually get you to make money pretty much immediately, and it's the fastest way to get profitable. So let's talk about opportunity number 1 to grow. This one's super obvious. I'm sure you're familiar with it, but it's a content strategy. You need to understand, social media is free. It costs you time, right? So there's 2 ways to grow, either spending money or spending time. If you don't have a lot of money, you're going to spend time. Spend time on what? Spend time making content. I wanted to show you guys a really, really great example of somebody who's got a great app, and they're growing it, what I can only assume is rapidly, through all AI-based content that's probably auto-posted, and it's simpler than you might think. So let's say you've got your app out, you've got a sales page for it, you can start enrolling people, even if it's a base MVP version, minimum viable product. This isn't the thing that is going to get somebody to buy you for $1 million, but it's the thing that you can get 100 people in, right? MVP. We can always make the platform better, but the biggest mistake most founders make is they don't launch soon enough. Launch as soon as you possibly can. Let's say you've got that out or you're building it. Create a social media account for yourself. Give it some avatar, whether it's the brand or it's, a fake person in your industry, that could be that thing. I'm going to show you an example of a brilliant traffic strategy that has guaranteed gotten this creator thousands, if not tens or hundreds of thousands of downloads. What you're looking at on my screen is all AI-based content, and we're going to notice one really common trend. Almost every single one of these posts is the same exact post. And I want to break down this strategy. So you can see 5 questions to ask your boyfriend, 22,000 views. 5 questions to ask your boyfriend, 23,000 views. 5 questions to ask your boyfriend, 68,000 views. 5 questions to ask your boyfriend, 12,000 views. I know this is a crazy one. Out of left field, 5 questions to ask your boyfriend, 43,800 views. We go all the way to the very beginning of this person's posting. 5 spicy questions to ask your boyfriend. 5 spicy questions to ask your girlfriend. Do you see where this is going? 2.2 million views on 5 spicy questions to ask your girlfriend. If we go all the way back to the very, very beginning of when this person started posting, they have a post in here that sounds familiar. You guys I know you're not going to guess it. There's no way you guess what this post is, but it got 20 million views. 5 flirty questions to ask your girlfriend. Shocking, 20 million views. 290,000 views, 6 questions for deeper conversations. 5 questions that will leave you feeling closer. Now, what is this person doing? Well, number 1, they're using AI to create photorealistic sign listicles. That's what it's called. What I think is brilliant about this is they found that 5 questions to ask your boyfriend seems to go pretty viral for them. So they posted it all the time. That's all they're posting. I know everybody thinks like, I've got to have content and all these different strategies and all this crazy stuff. You don't. AI can literally do all of this. So for me, the AI platform that I like to use for something like this would be Manus. And I actually created a few of them recently for one of my businesses. So I'll show you guys that. And all you got to do is you find something that's already working. So let's say this 5 questions to ask your boyfriend got 6 million views. I can literally copy this. I go into Manus and I connected Manus to Higgsfield. You don't have to, but Higgsfield is very good at generating photorealistic images. So I can literally pop this link in there and say, I like this, let's make something like it, but instead of wasting your time, I'm gonna show you exactly what I already made. So I went in Manus and I gave it an existing, you guys can actually see in the beginning, I gave it an existing TikTok post that was already doing really well. I gave it my website and I said, I wanna create something like this for my brand. And literally went to Higgsfield, did all the stuff, generated the slides, gave me this. 5 questions to ask yourself before you overpay the IRS. How many subscriptions did I pay for this month that I never actually opened? It gives you all of those, and then at the end, it says, stop guessing, start tracking, find every deduction automatically, deductive.io, link in the bio. So you guys can see content automated exactly like what's already working in the market. And I had to create a multitude of these. So it gave me a bunch of them that copies the exact same principle as the content that I already showed you that's going viral. Here's the key. Something that I absolutely love when it comes to distribution and growing is I don't know how this content's gonna perform. I'm gonna make a brand new TikTok account. I'm gonna start posting this content. I'm going for volume, not for quality. So I don't have to care about like, is this the perfect reel? This person is not showing their face in any single video. They're not really branding themselves super hard, but let's find out how are they actually making money from this? So if I go to one of their latest ones, when you open the carousel, the last slide in the carousel, so the second to last slide shows the app itself, Deep Conversations, and it literally just shows, it's asking a question. When did you realize I was different from anyone else? The last slide says, go to the App Store and download Deep Conversations. You don't have to have it in the App Store. You can literally just tell people, go to deepconversations.io to get started. And so that's how I would get traffic to my app pretty much immediately without having to have anything paid. So that would be strategy number 1. I do something called a 30-day challenge. The 30-day challenge is I'm gonna create 3 reels, 3 of these listicles every day. I'm gonna post them on Instagram, post a video version on YouTube Shorts, post the carousel listicle video on TikTok every day for 30 days. I am not going to look at the stats. I don't care what the performance is at the end of the 30 days. Too many people make the mistake of, I'm gonna grow my business. Oh, but my reels are only getting 2,000 views. I don't care about stats. I care about the consistency of the effort because you can always make the content better as you actually start getting some momentum. What I need is a game plan. So number 1, I'm just copying what somebody else is already doing, and I'm having AI recreate that for me and my brand. And now it's actually really easy without having to connect 10,000 different softwares. I literally just use Manus. The other thing I love is Manus can auto post these to Instagram for me. So I can connect my Instagram account, create a reel, say, okay, great, post it. Now I'm posting on 3 channels, YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels. I could post this on Facebook as well, and TikTok. So technically 4 channels. We already know this works on TikTok. And all I'm doing is recreating something that already works. So I'm gonna do that no matter what, because that's free eyeballs. I don't have to pay anybody for that. It's probably gonna cost me 5 cents to 10 cents to have these listicles made. So maybe on a month, it might cost me, 20, 30, 40 bucks to have this running. Now I've got content out there. So if anybody ever sees me, anybody wants to download my app, if I'm talking to somebody about my app, I can show them my social media and they know like, okay, you're legit, you've got content, this is great. With that said, there are a bunch of other concepts which you guys can actually get access to. If you guys look in the links below, I'll show you guys this. But I wrote down and we've released kind of a general overview of some of the most common ways to generate traffic, what you can actually do to make content that actually gets views. So build in public content is one. There's some examples. AI created carousel videos, we just covered that one. Yapping content is blowing up right now. So you just literally grab your phone and you start talking to your camera. Post one of those every day. Viral hook content, I'm not qualified to talk about this. That's like the really high production value, good content that you like script out and you da-da-da. I'm not great with that. I also have another strategy that I call YouTube content that nobody sees. Maybe sadly, that might be this video, but it's basically a video that you make with the intention that only a real dedicated buyer would look for. So if I have my deductive app, which helps people save money on taxes, helps small and medium businesses save on taxes, I don't want to make a video called how to save money on taxes because everybody attacks that angle. What I want to do is I want to go after a direct angle that only my exact user would be searching for. So I'm going to make a title, one that's called How to Write Off Dinner with Your Wife. That way, if somebody's searching that, I want to pop up for it, and I don't want the big companies going after this, right? So my angle is, let's go directly after the people that are looking for one simple solution when it comes to tax savings or any of that. Step by step of how to integrate or how to utilize the Augusta rule. We teach that inside the app, so it would be an easy way to do that. I could just make a simple YouTube video that talks about the Augusta rule, tells people I'm not a CPA, I'm not an accountant, this isn't financial advice, all of that. But I did build an app that makes this easy so you can actually make sure that you maximize your deductions. The app is in the link in the description. Make a bunch of videos like that. Simple 8 to 12 minute videos. And then lastly, another piece of content that you can do is called green screen videos. These are completely free. They're inside the Instagram app. You literally just go to the plus button, you hit reel, and then there's a little green screen button. You take that, you take screenshots of news or information in your industry, and you literally just display that on the background as you're talking. That is our sort of content strategy. So there's a million different ways to make content. You choose the one that works for you. Do it consistently for 30 days. Next, let's talk about another fun one that not a lot of people are on and they don't realize is so powerful: distribution. So actually reaching out to distributors. If you're starting out from scratch, you don't have an audience, so there's no way for you to get people into your app immediately, right? Maybe one of your posts goes viral, maybe you get lucky, maybe you have an existing audience, but what about all the people who already have your audience paying attention to them on social media? Can you reach out to those people and figure out a way to make a deal with them? That deal can look a bunch of different ways. My favorite way to get influencers to promote the stuff that I have is basically pay per performance. Let's ignore everybody who has 500,000 followers or more. Let's look into the people who have 20,000, 30,000 followers, okay? Any platform, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, whatever, they've got 20,000, 10,000, 30,000 followers. They're not getting a bunch of deals sent into their inbox every day because they're called nano influencers. They're pretty small, but they have a very dedicated, committed audience. Now that I'm selling a tool and I'm not selling information, it's easy for me to go to that person and say, I've got this great app. Let's use the example of my High Rocks training app. I could go to any influencer who's posting content that talks about running, he talks about High Rocks races, anything like that. He's got 25,000 followers and he's doing, reels pretty consistently. I approach him and go, I got a deal for you. I have a somewhat viral strategy that I think I could give you that you could post that would get you a lot of views. It's going to get you more followers, and I will pay you for the performance of this video. There's two ways to pay on performance: pay per view or pay per sale. Most influencers are going to want pay per view, which is actually better for us. I tell everybody the same kind of metrics. You want to pay $1 to $2 per 1,000 views that they get. That's pretty good for them. So now they're guaranteed to make some money. So if they make 10,000 views on this video, great. They made, what was that, 10 bucks. It's not the end of the world for you because it's not very expensive, but now they've got some money coming in, right? But if that video pops off and does go viral and does get 100,000 views, only cost you 100 bucks, but now they got a lot of views, they're getting more followers, they're going more viral, and you can help them do that, and they're promoting your app the entire time. So working with distributors is amazing. I would put that on my backboard. One of the things that we do is we hire people from Upwork, pay them $6 an hour. Your job is to reach out to influencers. I want you to find anybody who's talking about my niche, who's got less than 200,000 followers. I want you to send them a DM from my profile, and I want you to email them saying, I would love to work with you to see if there's a partnership availability. You can do that. You can also reach out to the big people and say, I would love a full-time partner. I'll give you 30% of all the revenue. You just promote my app. There are plenty of people who are doing that. Now you're partnering with this person. They grow the business, and now you're going to be able to make money from that as well. Just make sure it's a fit for their audience. Comment on their stuff, DM them, the works. If you message enough of these people, you will get plenty of people who are interested. It's very easy for you to get to 50 to 100 influencers that are actually promoting your app pretty consistently. And I just want you to do the math. If I can get 30 influencers to promote my app one time a month, that's every single day somebody making a piece of content for my brand, and I only pay them for the views that video gets. That is a really, really great way to grow, especially if you're doing an app or a software or a tool of some kind. It's easier to get them to agree than if you were selling an info product that teaches moms how to organize their calendar. They're not going to be as interested because it doesn't seem like there's as much virality in that. So that's going to be one of the caveats. So I will tell you, distributors are one of the best ways to get your app or software or tool out in the marketplace. This does not have to be an app. This can literally be a tool. This can be a software, something they can log into from a browser. Just you want to give them access, have them use it, have them showcase it. Now we get into the final way that you're actually going to be able to get users into your app, the thing that I am probably the most qualified to teach, the thing that I've done the most. I want to caveat everything that I've taught you guys here by describing the fact that I've built a bunch of businesses to over 7 figures in revenue. I've got awards on my wall that are all for applications that I've built that have done over $1 million in sales. I started doing this back in 2011. Funny story for you guys. I'm kind of dating myself a little bit here. I created one of the first landing page building softwares. It was really basic. You downloaded it on your desktop. And this was back when ClickFunnels didn't exist, High Level didn't exist, Wix didn't exist. So it was really hard to build landing pages. We built this like templated thing. We made $1 million in 7 days selling that on ClickBank. Sadly got shut down by PayPal because we were doing too many transactions. They were like, this is kind of fishy. You came out of nowhere and now you're doing $1 million. They shut us down. There was only 5 things searched more on the internet that week, maybe 6. We were right behind Lady Gaga. So we were literally the next most searched for term in 2011. And I will say, we did beat out, I think it was Flavors of Cheese was another one. And the one that I'm the most proud of is we were beating Weird Al Yankovic. That might date me a little bit. Most people are watching this going, I don't even know who that is. At the time, look him up in 2011, he was popular. And we beat him in search traffic that week. That was actually pretty cool. But I've been building tools for over a decade. The problem that I've had this entire time is I've always had to pay developers to do it. Now I don't have to, so I can use the exact same strategy, but I can build these tools myself, which is what makes this entire niche so exciting. But the way that I've grown all these tools to 7 figures is the non-traditional way. Most people build softwares, they give free trials, and then it either auto bills after 14 days or 30 days, and then you're hoping people stick around. What I did was I reversed that. I came up with a good marketing plan that introduced people to the reason that they needed my application, and I would charge them for a year or 2 years in advance. Nobody really wants monthly payments. Like, think about it. You don't want to add another $20 a month app to your bottom line. What you want is to know, I paid for it once, I'm going to get my value for X amount of time. So whenever I create software, I do founders launches, where I give people the ability to buy in on a one-time lifetime payment, but I'm going to limit that to 200, 500, 1,000 people, however many people I think I can actually get. So if I limit that to 1,000 people, the good news is if that marketing channel is working and it's making me money and I'm able to continue to grow that, I can change that founders launch to a beta launch, reduce the amount of credits that they get, still charge the exact same amount of money, and I can still start to promote that, continue to promote that offer. The method that I love using when I'm launching a brand new tool is I like using ads. Ads give me feedback immediately on whether or not people actually want my application. The hard part about ads, and the reason that most people can't make this work with their tools, is they're generating free trials. This is one of the biggest math equations when it comes to promoting your tool. You're like, okay, I've got this great 30-day trial. I'm gonna run ads. Okay, so let's say you spend $100 a day. That's $3,000 a month. Nobody's paid you. So you just spent $3,000 and you don't know if you're gonna get any of that money back, much less are you gonna make enough to cover the $3,000. So the only people that can run ads to free trials or very, very cheap with no back-end tech tools are people with funding. Well, I'm gonna assume you and I don't have funding. So we're not backed by somebody else who's just covering our bills. So we have to figure out, how do I spend money but make as much of it back as soon as possible? That's the name of our game. So that's why I like doing a tool that has a yearly price to it immediately. I have a good sales page that introduces people to the value of my application, and then I give them a Founders Launch membership. You're gonna get way more access than everybody else. You're not gonna pay monthly, you're just gonna pay up front. And a lot of people jump in on that. They wanna be early. Think about everything with Kickstarter, for instance. Kickstarter kind of created this model of, hey, here's this great coffee machine that we're building. You can't access it now, but if you pay right now, you'll be the first ones to get access to it. And they sell out. There was actually a company called Spin. I paid them. It took them 2 years to get me the coffee maker. They had my $700 for 2 years before I got anything. That market absolutely exists if you understand the marketing side, but it allows you to spend money on ads. You're gonna spend, if you have a founder's launch, that's $199 for life. The beautiful thing with AI being the guts behind this is you charge them $199 for life, but you limit the amount of credits that they get. This ensures that they never cost you more than they've given you. So what I do is I reverse engineer the math on my credits. So I would say, if a heavy user uses this application every day for a year, my cost is 90 bucks. I'm charging $199, so I know I have margin no matter what, and I limit the amount of credits that they get. After that, they're not gonna have to pay monthly, but they can buy more credits in like a pack. So now, oh, you need more credits, you wanna keep using it? Here's another $200, you get a discount on credits. So we're still rewarding them for being early, but we're not having to dive into our pocket and create something where we're gonna lose money. So in creating this founders launch, it allows me to run ads to a page where I'm selling my application for $97 today, $199 today, whatever it might be. You can go as high as thousands of dollars if that warrants it in your market. We want to pre-charge people for like a pre-launch, for a founders membership. That's going to get us our first 200 members. And I recently did this, and we're currently at, I think, 70 founders at 200 bucks. So we've made about $15,000 pre-launching a tool. It's ready to use. They're all using it right now, but they're limited on credits. And we've already had 3 people run out of credits and invest in buying more, and they're all happy. So it works great for everybody. Eventually, I'll restructure that to be a monthly fee, and then we'll be able to grow it. But now I've got testimonials. I've got users helping me make the software better. I've got capital, so I can actually invest in having a developer come in and make sure all of our security is taken care of. I've got money to put into ads. But this is a strategy that most people are overlooking for some weird reason. They just go right to, I'm just gonna make content, send them to a, download my app page that has a free trial. And that is great. That's a really good organic way to grow. It just doesn't get you capital coming in as quickly as you'd like. So I love doing founders launches with ads as my sort of primary go-to-market strategy. I can promise you guys this. It's a lot to cover in one video, but if you take these 3 phases and you go through each one at a time, you can absolutely take an idea that maybe even is just a little infant idea in your mind right now. You can use a platform like our idea engine, and you can take that idea that's just a little bit of a burning candle, and you can have AI help you turn that into a flame, a real fire that you can now use platforms like Lovable. There's other platforms like Cursor, Replit, Base 44. You can take your pick, whichever one you like. I kind of think that Lovable is the best one for most people. And you can go from that idea to a working application that you can start charging people for in less than 7 days. And in fact, one of the things that we're releasing right now is a 7-day built with AI system that's going to teach people exactly what this process looks like, step by step, over the shoulder. We go through everything in the idea creation phase, everything in the build phase, and everything in the distribution phase, because ultimately, I'm here to tell you, there's not that much for me to teach you when it comes to coming up with ideas. Everybody has them. There's not that much for me to teach you when it comes to vibe coding or getting these tools built, because AI does most of the heavy lifting. If you can talk to ChatGPT, now you can build an MVP of an app and get 200 to 500 members relatively quickly. Where the rubber meets the road, and where I'm uniquely qualified to help people, is in helping you actually get members into that application, the marketing aspects of it through content, other distributors, and through Facebook ads and ad methodology. There's going to be links below where you guys can check out all of this stuff if you guys want to get more in-depth, more step-by-step. I'm also going to be making more videos just like this to cover every aspect of it. So make sure you guys subscribe, and do me a huge favor. Just hit the like button and please leave a comment. I don't even care if you want to troll me and tell me that I'm leading people down the line of trying to create financial freedom and I'm this and I'm that. I don't care what you want to say. Just leave me a comment because it's good for the algorithm. I'll take all the negative comments with the good ones. But if you've got something good to say, I want to hear it. I want to hear what you guys have as ideas, where you want to take this stuff, because we're building more tools than ever now. We've built tools both for us internally and for other users to build. And we're building tools that other people are paying me and my team to build for them so that they can just sit back and sit in their zone of genius. We build the applications for them and they sell them. Building stuff right now is the new frontier. It's the thing that I think provides the biggest opportunity for the future. These skill sets are going to translate into a million things in the next coming years. Understanding how to do this, how this tech system works, being able to build tools, you will be shocked at what you can build and how easy it is to promote them, because we go all the way back to the beginning of this video when we talked about the idea of how do we create value. It is easier to create value, saving people time and saving people effort, if we create tools that do that for them. Nothing saves somebody effort more effort than having a tool that does the thing for them. And with AI, we can do that. Even if that's creating a script for a YouTube video, even if that's giving me better directions for here, recipes, tracking this, looking into this, you can make very simple apps that help people in a very big way, helps them save time, helps them save effort. You've got value now wherein otherwise you thought you didn't have any. So I urge you guys, jump on this. I want to hear what you guys build. That is it for this video. Please make sure that you guys like and subscribe for more, and I'll see you guys in the next one.